Welcome to the Shield Your Business from Chaos podcast, where there's no building, no people, no third-party suppliers, and no systems all combined to create Chaos the Dragon, which is battled by King Phoenix and his shield.
Welcome to the final part of this 4-part series on when to invest in business continuity software or business continuity consultants. In the last episode, we looked at the pros and cons of software and consultants for a large organization that has in-house BCP expertise. If that sounds like your organization, I encourage you to go back and have a listen to part 3. The last organization we have to look at then is the large organization that has no internal expertise. Ultimately, when it comes to software, you're looking at the same considerations as any large organization. How are you going to migrate your existing plan if you have one? Is this an included service? How do you know who updated what last? What is the tool going to do to make your life easier? And what kind of analysis can the tool do for you, from ranking your threats or your business processes to letting you know what content needs to be updated? The biggest difference when you have no expertise in the BCP space is to consider whether you can get some expertise included in your software purchase in the form of mentoring. So you'll see the list of features here is very similar to what we saw for the organization that has in-house expertise. But here we've added template content, mentoring services, as well as training. Similar to a smaller organization with no internal expertise, template content will save you time in writing your plan and help your inexperienced staff to get started. With respect to mentoring and training, when you have some expertise, it is far easier to learn how to use BCP software. When you're new to BCP, you may find you need a little more orientation to a tool, but it shouldn't take you days. I've said reasonable training here because even if you need a few more features to meet the needs of a larger, more complex organization, it still shouldn't require days of training, and the vast majority of that training should be available to you free of charge. It will come as no surprise that the vast majority of consulting is delivered to medium to large organizations that have no internal BCP expertise. You're going to need some degree of assistance in getting your BCP off the ground. However, this doesn't mean you have to spend a ton of money on a ton of services. Again, when you go seeking help in this area, consider a few key things. First, do you have internal resources that can be devoted to this long term, and or a training budget to bring them up to speed? As we've mentioned already, your BCP is an evergreen document. Once the consultants get your first draft in place, there will be gaps that still need to be filled by executing action items that were identified along the way. The plan needs to be maintained and exercised, and a program put in place to ensure personnel are aware of the plan, are trained on how to use the plan, and there needs to be mechanisms in place to ensure the plan is updated when internal processes change. When evaluating resources, you want to weigh the costs associated with annual consultants versus an hourly employee and continue evaluating this from year to year. It may be more cost-effective to pay consultants from year to year to do exercising and help maintain the plan versus hiring someone to do this internally. It's going to depend largely on the size and complexity of your organization. There will come a point as you grow where it may be more cost-effective to have full-time permanent staff dedicated to your BCP and to use consultants sparingly when the situation warrants it. Once you know whether or not you have resources, then you know what you're looking for long-term from your consultants, which means you can get appropriate pricing. If you suspect you're going to want exercising and maintenance services, ask for that pricing up front when you're asking about plan development services. Once a consultant gets to know your organization through the initial plan development phases, they will know how best to execute the plan maintenance and what scenarios might be good to exercise. They will be able to move right into plan maintenance and exercising. However, you don't want to build that relationship and then find out that the plan development is complete and now exercising and maintenance services are way outside your budget or are not offered by your consultants, and now you have to start over with a new consulting organization. If you do plan to have internal resources maintaining your plan, try to identify those individuals before you dive into the plan development process. That way they can sit through all of the plan development meetings and learn the business continuity process firsthand. It becomes built-in mentoring so that they are better prepared to take on the business continuity plan responsibilities once the consultants have left. Of course, if you have or plan to use software, again, you'll want to make sure your consultants know how to use it too. So the services you might be looking for as a large organization with no expertise are those services that get your first draft together: the threat risk assessment, business impact analysis, and plan development, potentially adding on maintenance and exercising, as well as the opportunity for mentoring either through a formal arrangement or simply shadowing the consultants throughout the initial plan development work. Now, another approach to consider, particularly if you have an older draft of a plan that has been somewhat neglected, but you have a new internal resource to work on reviving the plan, is to have a gap analysis performed. This will tell you if there are any major elements of your plan missing, particularly if you are now being requested to provide a copy of your business continuity plan to a third party. Lastly, you may decide that you simply want a couple of days of mentoring from your consultants, and then your internal resources are going to take a crack at getting your plan together. With this approach, you may consider periodic exercising by external consultants to get fresh perspectives on your plan, or have a plan audit completed to ensure that your newly minted team has put a robust plan together for you. So in closing, when you are looking at software and consulting, consider the size and complexity of your organization and the resulting volume and complexity of information that is going to have to be synthesized in order to produce your BCP. Consider the expertise you have in-house, and more importantly, how much time these resources have to devote to the business continuity process, whether they have any expertise or not. Be sure to look at your needs, both short-term and long-term. You need to think up front about how you will maintain your plan and how much change you anticipate in your organization. And lastly, shop wisely. There are a lot of flashy software solutions on the market, and approaches to business continuity planning can be far more complex than is required for your organization. There is some truth to you get what you pay for, but just make sure that what you're paying for is really what you need.
Use King Phoenix and Shield with its mapping, its dashboards, its permissioning, its dependency mapping, and its automatically redacted plans to shield your business from chaos. Kingsbridge, BC.